Started. So today's session is called the Success Switch. And what it is, it's based on a couple of decades worth of research of how do I get my brain to line up with what it is that I want. And what we're ultimately going to learn how to do is turn off the part of our brain that's kind of stuck in a rut. And we're going to turn on another part of our brain where we start to, see the possibilities again and move ourselves forward. This is from Shiftco, and Shiftco trains purposeful founders how to grow their business and maximize their impact. 88.9% of our members have doubled their revenue, and we have about a 98% monthly retention rate of members. So we love what we do. I feel like the luckiest person in the world to get to do this. I love my job. And ironically, this passion that I have for profit and purpose really started back with my grandfather. That's the last picture I had taken with him. And my grandfather was my first entrepreneurial mentor when I was about 5 years old. He had a juice bar in Sarasota, Florida. And I won't tell you the whole story. It's not as important as this one part of the story. But this particular day, I had seen my grandfather do something really special and really kind. And when he came back, he handed me this stack of money. And he said, "Do you know what this is, honey?" And we were super poor. I mean, super, super, super poor. And I was like, "Oh, grandpa, it's money." And I kind of had this kind of greed, "Oh, it's all this money." And he said, "No, no, 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 no. What this is it's my profit. And profit is the tip your customers give you when you serve them well." And ironically, this 5-year-old got this lesson at this moment in time that really has shaped the way I've thought about entrepreneurship. That we're meant to build profitable businesses, and I also believe we're meant to build businesses that serve others. And I believe when you put those two things together, there's nothing quite like that. And so in 2009, I started the Share on Purpose portfolio of companies. It's like a purposeful Shark Tank. We've got multiple companies that we own. The three biggest are Succeed on Purpose, Ignite on Purpose, and Shipco, which we launched in 2020. And then we also invest outside the portfolio. And an example of that is yourizzy.com, which is the first zero waste makeup and skincare line. So everything in my life is dedicated to profit, but also profiting based on value and service and purpose. And that's why I feel fortunate enough to lead Shiftco and love what I do. So now we're going to shift over to you. And Lisa is going to be my voice Vanna. I'd love for you to engage in the chat. The question is, do you feel like you have power to control your thoughts? And just kind of answer the question randomly, and then we're going to test that. Do you think, yes or no, you have the power to control your thoughts? And Lisa, kind of read off what's coming in so I know what folks are saying. Not a right or wrong answer. I'm just curious what you think.
Let's see. Mostly, you're getting a couple mostlies. Getting better. Mostly no. Occasionally, absolutely. Something I've been working on. Sometimes.
Okay, let's test it. So now I want you to answer the same question in 3 scenarios. You lose a large client. How quickly can you get your thoughts back on track? Ooh, that's hard.
Yeah. That one,
Someone
yes.
criticizes you. What happens then? And third scenario is when you have cash flow issues. And every business of every size at any time is having cash flow issues. So in these 3 scenarios, do you still feel like you have the power, or do you lose the power? What happens to your thoughts? So go ahead and tell me what's coming into the chat, Lisa.
I got a couple yeses, and then no, this is when I lose control. Other than that, it's good. That's when it gets shaky.
And so when it gets shaky, what happens? Do you just kind of run amok? What's happening when your thoughts, and one of these triggers happens and it sends you spiraling? What happens? What does it feel like? What's going on?
Do you want me to just say it instead of typing it?
Sure.
Okay. I was gonna say, so that's when it gets shaky because I'm immediately self-reflective and I'm like, where did I go wrong? What did I do? Let me sit in stillness. Let me look at things that are around me that are not in alignment because I messed something up. And sometimes I feel like that's not always me and I'm taking too much accountability, but sometimes it is. So it's an immediate self-reflection, but that's where my emotions get shaky because I already feel, so it takes a little bit longer to get back into it's going to be fine. Just keep moving forward, but it does.
So you kind of get derailed, right?
It doesn't feel like a full derail, because again, it depends on how big the hit is, right? And if it's one after another, after another, after another, then it starts to derail, and I have to really intentionally bring myself back. But it could be a hit, and for maybe a few minutes, I get shaky, thinking, okay, well, where did I go wrong? So I start analyzing, but then that keeps me from moving forward, right? So there's a pause. But I also feel like I need to pause instead of continuing to move forward because then that increases lack of awareness. So like it's a constant self-reflection.
Love that. Anybody else want to comment, or Lisa, are there anything else in the chat that you want to read off?
Yeah, Netta had a point. She said, regarding the word controlling, it she's saying that's not always positive, that maybe you can take your negative emotions, acknowledge them, then figure out how you want to move forward.
Love that. Well,
Um,
go
and
ahead, Courtney.
for me, I agree a lot with what Dr. Campbell said. One thing I would add is for me, on the journey of getting the power back in my hands. Once that happens, it's not oh, the power is in my hands. It's I have the power 1 minute. Oh man, I thought about that one thing that made me sad, or that one thing I lost the client, or I have these cash flow issues, and now I'm constantly going up and down, the roller coaster, in those moments until I'm no longer in these situations.
Love that. So you cycle basically. You get triggered and then thoughts start, they kind of spiral and you get in a cycle and then you catch yourself and eventually you get out of it. Is that right?
Yes, but you have to do the work.
Right.
Get out of it.
So that point right there is what I became fascinated with. I saw it in myself. And again, I've been an entrepreneur since 2002. So a long, long, long time. I'm older than I look. And I became fascinated with entrepreneurship pushes every single button that you've got. Every single button that you have, it's gonna get pushed. And there's no way around it. Like you can't spend your way out of it. You can't hope your way out of it. It's gonna happen. I think it's probably the hardest thing to do, second, maybe only to raising children. And I can't even raise my dog, so I don't have experience with kids, but I can only imagine. But entrepreneurship is unique in that it is going to push every single button you have, every not good enough button, every self-worth button, every judgment button you have is going to get pushed. So when I became an entrepreneur and I felt all my buttons getting pushed, and the only way to really build the business is you have to move through those buttons and you have to find ways. So I became really a student of brain science and brain research and neurobiology and just began to really kind of understand what's happening. And I deconstructed it and simplified it. That's kind of my MO. I try to deconstruct complicated things and make them simple. And that's one of the reasons why Shiftco is so successful is we deconstruct these complicated things and we make them very simple so that you can do them. So when you really understand your brain, the brain's a very complicated place, as Dr. Campbell knows. But the amygdala is, and I'm going to use very plain language. You can consult with Dr. Campbell if you want the more research-based language. I'm going to make it as simple, like common language. The amygdala is the dumbest part of the brain, in my opinion. And what it does is it processes emotions and it links them to old memories. So, I didn't get selected for a speaking engagement. And so that's current event. I didn't get selected to a speaking engagement, but I have a memory of being abandoned that's kind of stuck in there. And this current event of not getting selected for the speaking engagement triggers that old memory. And ultimately, that process creates a neuro pathway between the brain and the body that I like to think of as programs. So a program is like on your computer, it's running in the background. So I've got Zoom running, I've got PowerPoint running. Those are programs. It's kind of like that. Again, I'm making it as simple as possible for a reason because I want you to understand you can reverse this. What I found in my research is there's five, we have, I don't know how many programs there are, but there's five that are the most common. The biggest is I'm not enough. That's the I call it the self-worth program. I'm not enough. I can't do this. I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I don't know numbers enough. I don't know delegation enough. And it's just a constant program that is in this string that the amygdala holds onto. So that's the biggest. The second biggest is the I can't program. Some people call it the victim program, or I like to think of it as powerless. I can't do that. I can't learn that. And I had these two programs in spades because I grew up incredibly poor and both of my parents were raging alcoholics. I was abused in every way possible. I had all of these programs, but these two were predominant. And, self-worth is kind of like big you, little me. I was always putting myself down and I was putting myself down here, or I was fighting, to be better than because of this self-worth, I'm not enough program. And the I can't, the minute I had a failure, I was like, oh, I can't do that. This still happens to me today. Like Lisa likes to play golf and I've been trying to learn golf for the 12 years I've known her. And she even bought me golf clubs, for my 50th birthday. And I get out on the course, and all it takes is one swing where I'm awkward and I throw the thing down and I'm like, I can't do this. And that story is rampant. So these are the two biggest, but there's three more. The third one, I'm seeing this more in women than men. Sorry, Keith, but it's also in men, but I see it more in women than men. It's the I have to program. I like to call it Atlas. Atlas was that, I think it was like a Greek god that carried the world on his shoulders. And he, when I think of the Atlas program, it's like, I have to be the one to do this. I have to do this. I have to take over this. I have to take care of that. And, when you're a founder, if you have the I have to program, the business doesn't scale very easily because you think you have to be the one to always do it. Four is the here we go again. This is the failure program. In entrepreneurship, this program can become very pronounced. Every time there's a little blip in the business, the failure program takes off and it starts running you. That's that loop that we talked about a minute ago when Courtney was talking. It's like, here I go again. I made another mistake again. Up, I lost this client again. Up, I've got cash flow issues. It's all my fault. I spent too much money or whatever. And the failure program is just kind of this, deep down inside in your subconscious and your unconscious, there's that failure program is pulling you down and it's kind of shading all of your perspectives to make you think that you're failing when in reality, entrepreneurship is highs and lows and ups and downs and lefts and rights and speed bumps. It's not failing. It's just the business is adjusting. It's like a bucking bronco and it's kind of bucking around, moving around. But if you have the failure program running, you perceive all of those ups and downs as failures. And then number five is the who am I to? And that's the imposter program. Who am I to think I should be able to get a PhD? Who am I to think I can build this business? Who am I to think I can be successful? So kind of let this sink in a little bit. Feel free to drop in the chat if one of these is like screaming, like, yeah, that's my main one. If it feels like you have all five, don't worry. Lots of people do. The beautiful thing is I'm going to give you a tool to reverse this. But which program is kind of speaking to you, and you can shout it out or you can put it in the chat, whatever is easier for you. Anybody want to comment or put it in the chat?
Failure one.
Go for it. Sorry. I'll talk after you. Who
Oh,
talked?
go ahead. I was just reading your comment.
Oh, okay. So I was actually going to share something because it might help, anybody else who's either been in the situation or who may be in the future. Because I feel like I've done this neuroscience work, deep inner work for, 15, 16 years now, and that I am not enough is always the number one for it's come up so often. That's always the one that I look out for now. But for myself personally, I felt confident. I felt, empowered. I felt my worth was amazing. I had worked so hard on myself when I started to scale my business and I had failure after failure after failure. It did not stop. That's the one that makes me shaky now because now I have so many other wounds that I've had to heal from because business has been so hard. So just so people know, yes, some are in childhood, some are in early adulthood, other relationships, but business can wound too. So to keep an eye out for that one and just, to let you guys know that's the one that makes me shaky.
Yeah. Anybody else want to share?
Courtney, did you want to share? I can be, she gave me some numbers here.
I wasn't, but I can. I mean, all of these kind of hit on like some sort of nerve. But 1, 3, and 5 are, I guess, the strongest ones. I mean, like Terry said, the background and whatever the background is, just feeling like, who am I to be able to do whatever? And so that's how it ties to number 5 for me. But I think 3 is, I don't know if I put like a cape on my back or like an S on my chest or something like that, is like just looking at the people around me, like if I don't do it, then it won't get done. If I don't think it, it won't happen. If I don't be the one in the background, like making everything move like the Godfather, then it won't. It just won't. So I have to do it. And then I get overwhelmed from being that person. It's a lot. So 1, 3, and 5 are my things.
Yeah, that's a great way. And I love how you connected them. Anybody else want to share? We've got just like another minute just to, shout it out, or Lisa, you can read what's in the chat, whatever
Yeah,
works for you.
there's another one I could read, since we're short on time. So the I have to and the who am I are the biggest programs. Um, and let's see, she says sometimes I feel intimidated, and with professionals that have been doing it a long time. Yeah, wearing all the hats and everything's on your shoulders, a little bit about
Yeah.
what we talked about earlier.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you a very brief story, and I'm going to want you to develop your own memory of a story like this, and I'm going to ask you to share it in a minute. So again, abused every way possible, incredibly poor, had a couple of breaks in high school, and I was able to get out of this horrific environment, and I made it to college. And lo and behold, after growing up and being told I was stupid and ugly and not good enough and beaten and all this kind of stuff, lo and behold, I get out of that environment and I get into college and I find out I'm actually smart and I'm getting good grades. By my second semester, I'm on the dean's list. By the third semester, my sophomore year, I was on the chancellor's list. I was, from that point forward, from my second semester as a freshman all the way till I graduated, I was on the dean's list or chancellor's list every single year. I studied and it was hard, but it wasn't like hard because I discovered that I was smart. But there were two areas that I avoided like the plague: math. I'm one of those people that barely graduated high school, barely had enough math credits to make it to college. And I just thought I was bad with numbers. Second was science. And so there was one particular class, we've all been there, where this was the professor who loved to fail people. And I kept avoiding this class because I was afraid I was going to get this professor. And it was chemistry, which is a combination of math and science. And I was like, oh, I'm putting it off, but maybe they'll change the requirements and I won't have to take it. Well, I get to my last semester and I can't graduate unless I take chemistry. Lo and behold, who is the professor? The professor. So I walk in my senior year, last semester. I have to pass this class to graduate. And I sit down in the front row, determined that I am going to pass this. And he starts, by the end of today, half of you will drop this class. Within 2 weeks, another quarter of you will drop this class. And by the end, there will only be 20% of you left. and only maybe one of you will get an A. So you know your grade point average is going to suffer. So that was how he started the class. So I'm sitting there panicked. I'm like, I'm never going to be able to do this. All this stuff is happening. I walk out and I'm like, I'm dropping this class. I'm going to kick my graduation down the road. I can't do this. And I'm walking towards the registrar's office to drop the class. There was a whole group of us, by the way, that were doing that. And all of a sudden, I sat down on the bench and I just said, wait a minute. I don't want to wait another year to graduate. And I just started talking to myself. And that's a very important piece. We don't listen, or we listen to our thoughts rather than talk to our mind. Let me say that again. We listen to our thoughts and they control us rather than learning how to talk to our mind. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I was talking to my mind and I was saying, no, there has to be another way. There has to be a way. And I was talking to my mind rather than listening to my thoughts. And by the way, that's what champion athletes do, is they learn how to talk and train their mind rather than listen to their thoughts. And again, I didn't know I was doing this. And all of a sudden I got up and I'm like, I'm not dropping this class. I'm going to show that SOB professor. And I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I turned to the right and I went to the library at the campus in Indiana University, climbed up the stairs, and I'm like, I'm going to find a way. And sure enough, I found this bulletin board with one of those, need help in chemistry, pull down the little tab, I'll tutor you. Called the tutor. Next thing you know, I'm learning it with some extra help. Lo and behold, I got an A- in the class. And at the end of the semester, the professor said there was only one A- in the class, and it was an English education major. Never had that happen in my 30 plus years teaching. So what happened to me, and I want you to kind of think about your own story here, is I switched my brain off. I stopped listening to my thoughts and I started talking to my mind about having the power to change my circumstances. So I want you to think of a time when you felt that kind of power. I'm going to pause the recording. Okay, so we're recording again. And as you have that time when you felt that power, I want you to really think about, how did I actually do that? And what happened to me is, after that event and after graduating, with these high honors, one of the top in my class, after barely graduating high school, I became fascinated with, how did I get myself to do that? And I began to test things early in my career. And what I learned is that there's a sequence of things that you can do where you can turn your brain off, the part of you that's running that program, and you can start talking to your mind and shifting what your mind is thinking about. And it took me a while to really figure out what I was doing, but I built a little measurement tool. And I started saying, this is now much later in my career, so I'm now kind of in my late 20s and early 30s. I started paying attention to what percent of my time could I actually shift my thoughts. And, when I first started doing it, it was maybe 10% of the time. And then I was learning some things kind of haphazardly, and then it was 25% of the time, and so on and so forth. Today, it's anywhere from 75 to 100% of the time, all the time, that something can happen. I can lose a client. I can have cash flow issues. Something can go horribly wrong. People can talk about me. I can tell a story and I can catch it and I can shift it. And so that's what we want to do, is you want to start measuring what percent of the time can you shift your thoughts, and how long does it take you for that to occur? And as I started doing this evaluation, I began to learn something fascinating. And here's what it is. Most of the time, we're focusing our mind on the wrong things. And for example of that, we can say, oh, I've started my business. I want my business to work. I want to feel successful. And there's this desire for doing it. And then something goes wrong and that cycle starts that we talked about earlier. This want it goes out the window and this other part of us takes over. And try as we want, we can't get back to that powerful feeling of I want it and I feel successful, because that brain body neuro pathway is pulling us under. So what I learned, and I really wish I had learned it earlier, is you have to change this up. The first thing that you have to do is you have to alter what's holding you back. You've got to stop that brain body chemistry, and you have to stop that first, and then you can return back to your goals, back to what you want. Now let me say this, I'm going to say this 3 times 3 ways, because this is one of the most important piece of what makes success switch work. Is we're not going to try to think positively. What we're going to do is we're going to stop the thinking negatively first, and there's a specific way I'm going to teach you how to do it. Then you're going to think positively. When you just try to change, it's kind of like you're driving your car forward and you want to go backwards, and you can't just go backwards. You have to stop the car. And then when it's in neutral, then you can back it up. It's the same exact thing. That's how the mind body works. So we first have to alter what's holding us back. And so that's what I developed, is this ability to switch the brain's fear response off. Now, when does the fear response show up? It almost always shows up when we're moving from we're moving out of our comfort zone in anything. Golf for me, as I said, entrepreneurship, marketing, financials, businessy stuff. When we're in our comfort zone and everything is working, we want to stay in the comfort zone. And then the minute we start shifting out of that, oh, I'm going to put myself out there and I'm going to do marketing, or I'm going to network, or I'm going to, try to read my financial statements, it triggers all of this fear. And then that fear creates that mind body loop, and we get stuck. And when we get stuck in that loop, it's really hard to get out unless you can learn to turn this off. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip the success switch, which will be when you're moving from your comfort zone and fear is kicking off, and lack of confidence, being affected by what other people think, excuses, I can't, all that stuff that we talked about a minute ago. We're going to flip that. We're going to turn it off. And then we're going to combine it with what it is that we really want to create. Just to show you how powerful this is, ShiftCode tracks results. In July of 2021, 53.4% of our members, we were about a year and a half into launching, had doubled their revenue. When we implemented the success switch, we started doing it in late November 2021. By the next July, 77% of our members had doubled. And I equivocally take it back to the Prosperity Challenge and to this. And then from there, it's obviously gotten better and better. And we're always trying to make it better. But this was kind of the switch for us when we started teaching our members this very simple process. Back then, I called it the ABCs. And I'm going to show it to you now. So here's how it works. Amygdala running these programs, right? And it's emotions and old memories, and it's created these programs. The 5 ones are I'm not enough, I have to, I can't, here I go again, and who am I? So what we're going to do is we're going to use this process to first switch the amygdala off. And the first part of this is what I call A, and I call it ABC. So we're going to acknowledge the emotion underneath the program. And when we do that, the amygdala, if you wait and you pause, the amygdala will stop. And it will stop that story. And when the amygdala stops, so think of the amygdala, it's the old program running in the background. I'm not enough, I'm not enough, I'm not enough. And when everything's working, it's kind of quiet. But the minute something gets off track, it comes back, right? But it's running all the time. It's in our subconscious, it's running all of the time, not just when things go wrong, it's running all of the time. So what we do is we acknowledge the emotion under the program by simply saying, the truth is I feel. So that's going to be, and I want you guys to do it now. I want you to say, the truth is I feel, and say it, put yourself on mute and say it out loud. The truth is I feel, and whatever comes up, comes up. The truth is I feel frustrated. The truth is I feel tired. The truth is I feel scared. And then just pause. Don't judge it. Don't fight it. Just let it come up and wait about 30 to 60 seconds until, and you'll feel it downshift. You'll feel it go from running, 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 running. The truth is, I feel frustrated. Wait, pause, and you'll feel it start to downshift, just like a car where you're going from full fifth gear, fourth gear, third gear, second gear until it gets into neutral. So try that now on mute. The truth is, I feel, and pause. Now just notice it's a little more quiet in there. Maybe you're only in second gear or first gear, but it takes about 30 to 60 seconds and it will pause. I'm again using simpler terms here. The amygdala is not the smartest part of the brain. So what the amygdala does when you acknowledge is it turns that old program off. It's like, oh, we need new information. You acknowledge this, you acknowledge me, I need some new information. Again, I'm simplifying it on purpose. And then it turns to what I call the boss of the brain, the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex regulates thoughts and actions and emotions through extensive connections with other brain regions. And again, I'm simplifying this. The amygdala is like, oh, old program is off. I need new information. And it turns over to the prefrontal cortex and it says, give me new direction. Tell me what to do next. Because it's the dumb part of the brain. The amygdala is the dumb part of the brain. So it's looking to the boss of the brain to basically tell it what to do. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do the second part where we're just going to breathe. And you're going to breathe a very specific way. This is the B. So A is acknowledge, B is breathe. And by breathing this way, we're going to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. The prefrontal cortex will activate it, which will release hormones that relax the mind and the body, which makes it easy to program it with something new. So 4 breaths, do them very distinctively, in through the nose and out of your mouth. Breath number 1, and release through the mouth. Just notice how you're feeling. If you just wait, you'll feel a little lightheaded. Take your time. Breath number 2, same breath, in through the nose and out of the mouth. Usually now you're feeling really lightheaded, which is what you want. What's happening is the amygdala is now, all these hormones are going into your bloodstream. They're relaxing you. They're also relaxing the amygdala. 2 more breaths. Breath 3, nice and deep and long exhale. You want to try to empty all of your lungs. And then breath 4 is just kind of an ah. Ah. What you've done right now, in addition to relax the body and the mind, your nervous system now is much more receptive, and your amygdala is much more receptive to receiving some new information. And that is when you do the third step. The third step is claim. The prefrontal cortex can now reprogram the amygdala by claiming a new empowering thought. You also want to add an image to it. I'm going to show you what that means, because that will activate another part of your brain that responds to visuals in a powerful matching emotion. The one that I like to do is, I have the power to create what I want. And I just like that picture I showed you of that guy standing there like this, with those arms up. I have the power to create what I want. And I stand there and I stand in my power pose and I start picturing winning and I start picturing overcoming whatever is happening. And I start like doing almost kind of some rocky punches. I have the power to create what I want. And I just allow my nervous system to basically program the amygdala, and we start installing a new program in it. Super, super powerful. It's 3 steps. acknowledge, which causes the amygdala to stop. We have to turn the amygdala off and stop the negative program before you can try to move to what it is you want. Breathing, when you breathe, the prefrontal cortex will turn on the parasympathetic nervous system. And then now you can claim the new belief, you can visualize it and feel it as if it's real. Now it's gone. And it doesn't matter, like, if it's something major, you got a tax audit or a client, or cash flow issues, or how am I going to pay this bill? Any of those things, you can use this process. And when you do it nice and slow, just like I did, it takes about 2 minutes. Now you're claiming the new belief, you're seeing yourself moving through it. The next thing you know, it's not a big deal. And so the brain's process it's relatively easy to program it when you get these pieces working together. This is from Positive Intelligence, which I'm a huge fan of. And it's really about kind of shifting from I'm afraid I can't to basically training the mind-body connection through neuroplasticity to basically tell yourself that yes, you can. But in order for you to do that, you can't just turn on the positive program. You first have to stop the negative program. And what I found is if you do these ABCs, this success switch, just twice a day for 7 days, that old program will dissipate and the new program will work. So how do you do it twice a day for 7 days? Number one, schedule it. It is on my calendar to do this. Literally twice a day, I have a time block on here to do this process. Secondly, you can also habit stack. Habit stacking is combining it with another activity. Another thing that I do is before I do my demand generation marketing activities, I do the success switch. So that's habit stacking. So either way is making it stick. Again, acknowledge, pause the amygdala program first, breathe 4 times to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, claim the belief. A, B, C. Super, super, super simple. The 7-day success switch challenge is choose one of those beliefs you want to change that we came up with, a program. Just choose one. Do the success switch twice a day for 7 days and basically turn off the old program, turn on the new program with those images, and you replace it. It's ABC, acknowledge, breathe, and then claim the new belief. That's how it works. Try it 7 days a week. Try it twice a day for 7 days a week, and you'll see, as our members have seen, and as I do it every single day, that it works. Now we'll just wrap up and then I'll stop and take questions. There's 3 ways that we can support you. If you're interested in learning more about ShiftCo, I'll send you what's called Inside ShiftCo, and it explains the difference. Basically, our training is, if this is our free, you can imagine how good the full programs are, but you also get this one-on-one coaching with real experts, including me, helping you one-on-one apply it to your business. And it's very powerful. You can also, I'll do a free coaching session with you if you're interested in that. And then, if you can't afford joining ShiftCo, then continue to attend our free events. We're here to serve you and we would love to help you. Again, we've got 2 events coming up, Selling Simplified on July 14th and the Conscious Business Forecast on the 22nd. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to turn the recording off